Our scripture today is from Colossians chapter 1, verses 3 through 10. In our prayers for you, we always thank God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, for we have heard of your faith in Christ Jesus and of the love that you have for all the saints, because of the hope laid up for you in heaven. You have heard of this hope before the word of the truth, the gospel that has come to you. Just as it is bearing fruit and growing in the whole world, so it has been bearing fruit among yourselves from the day you heard it and truly comprehended the grace of God. This you learned from Ephraim, our beloved fellow servant. He is a faithful minister of Christ on your behalf, and he has made known to us your love in the Spirit. For this reason, since the day we heard it, we have not ceased praying for you and asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of God's will in all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so that you may lead lives worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing to him, as you bear fruit in every good work and grow in the knowledge of God. I'd like to say a couple words about our guests before we invite them forward. Tom McArthur is the Director of Church Community Services. As you may know, this is the 50th anniversary year of CCS. Tom has been the Director of CCS for the past year. Previous to that, he served for 10 years at Habitat for Humanity. He has a passion for working with people in poverty, and especially for people who are trying to lift themselves out of poverty. So we're grateful that you're here. Before you come forward, I'll say just a little bit about Morgan. Morgan Jantz Short is somebody who grew up in Goshen. I knew her from Goshen High School. She is between Becca and Joel there. She was a musician there and went on to study voice at Goshen College. She recently got married at the end of June. She's been the director of the Seed to Feed program for Church Community Services for the past 2 years. Is that right, Morgan? Past year. We're sad to report that she's leaving in December. She'll be going to start a graduate degree in marine biology. It's hard to do that in Elkhart. So she'll be going to Florida to do that. We're grateful to have you both here. Tom is going to speak for us first, and then he'll invite Morgan up to talk about Seed to Feed.
Thank you very much for having us here today. I have to say, when we first came in this morning, this is really a very warm, welcoming place. It's a really a nice vibe when you first walk in the doors. And Deb and I, my wife, is with me today, and we were both commenting. It's just a nice, warm, welcoming kind of environment. So thank you, anyway, for having us here. And apparently, you're a kind of church that'll accept just anybody. I mean, how else would we explain Larry Ford being here? As Pastor said, we're 50 years old. In fact, we're almost 50 years old to the day, Church Community Services. 50 years ago, 14 churches got together and decided to create what is Church Community Services. And guess who was one of those 14 churches? It was Elkhart City Church of the Brethren. Of course, your forerunner, your original church, I guess. So, was anybody here a member of Elkhart City Church of the Brethren? Oh, wonderful, cool. Number of hands, great, okay. Well, anyway, thank you. And thank you, you've, to the best of my knowledge, for 50 years you've been continuous supporters of Church Community Services, and that's huge. That's huge, so thank you for being part of that. Elkhart County, as you know, we've got a wonderful economy today. Everybody's working, full employment. Every plant has a hiring sign in front of them. Lots of people are making money. And every month, Church Community Services is feeding 5,000 people every month. You know, that's a disconnect for me. Everybody's working, everybody's making money, we still feed 5,000 people a month. It's not as much as what we used to feed during the recession, of course, but 5,000 people is a lot of people. Every 20 minutes on average, a new family comes into our pantry needing help. Isn't that amazing? So, please, I suspect you know, there's this layer of our population that needs our help, and they still need our help. And, kudos to Creekside. What, 800 pounds? Is that what I heard? 800 pounds of produce so far, and the harvest has just begun. So we love that. And more especially, the guests in our pantry love that. Please also know that sometimes we get more. There's 14 gardens, I think it is, 15, 16 gardens, 16 gardens that are contributing food to our pantry. And there are times during harvest season where we get more than we can use for our clients. So please understand that we will share that with other pantries, because the last thing we want to have happen is for produce to go bad. And so anyway, we start with helping our clients, and then we will absolutely share with other food pantries. I mentioned the 5,000 people a month that we're feeding. 800 people a year, 800 families a year come to us looking for help with utilities, or help with their rent payments, or help with prescriptions. Again, there's a whole layer of people out there who are still needing our help. And why is that? Well, the people we're helping, most of them are working, but it's the single mom with 2 kids, and mom works at 7-Eleven. How much does she make? Well, she makes like $9 an hour at 7-Eleven. As you might guess, $9 an hour doesn't go very far when you're paying for rent and maybe a car and child care possibly. $9 an hour just doesn't go very far. So in a sense, it's the working poor who we're helping and who still need our help. So one thing I've learned a lot in this last year with church community services is it's kind of troubling. When you talk about poverty and families in poverty, 90% of the families in poverty are single moms with kids. Isn't that awful? 90% are single moms with kids. And so what I'm really proud of, one of the things that we do is, have any of you heard of our Soup of Success program? A lot. Good. Okay, good. It's been around for 20 years. What I like about it is a lot of the people who go through our Soup of Success program, a lot of the women, are actually women who have gone through the pantry or have come for help with emergency services. And so we're helping these women basically rebuild themselves and rebuild their families and become productive. And in most cases, they go on to better careers. They certainly better their education. They learn how to handle their finances. And so what I like about church community services overall is that we help the people who need the most help, and we help build them up into what they want to be and who they want to be. And of course that affects their families and everyone else they touch. So it's a wonderful program to be part of. In the future, 2 of the things that we're looking at in the immediate future is we would really like to expand our food pantry. We're the largest food pantry in Elkhart. There's 14 other food pantries just in Elkhart. Now, isn't that amazing? So when a family comes to church community services, we can help them, but they can only come see us once a month. And so when you grab up a couple of bags of groceries, you're only grabbing 2 or 3 days worth of groceries. And so you got to figure out in your schedule, okay, who's open next, and where can I go next for next week's groceries? And so we really want to expand our pantry to allow people to come more than once a month. What if you need to come once a week? What if we could do that? Wouldn't that be great? It's serving those people in need, trying to respect their time, because you can imagine if we're not open 40 hours a week, by the way. We're open 15 hours a week. So you got to schedule your time around when we're open, and then you got to schedule your time around when the next one is open, and it's a hassle. I guess you could say it's a hassle to be poor, because it is. And you know, half the people we serve don't even have a car. Can you believe that? How inconvenient would that be to not have a car? Almost half the people we serve. So we want to expand those services in our pantry. The other thing we want to do is that we want to expand our Super Success program. We're graduating about 20 women every year out of the program. Great. 20 women, 20 families are all affected and impacted. Wonderful. What if we could do 30? What if we could do 40? You know, think about the impact now that we can have in that community. So those are a couple of things that we're looking at doing. Creekside, you are definitely one of the our premier gardens. Morgan will go into some more detail about our gardening program, but you guys are awesome. I have seen the pictures of the kitchen where you're processing tomatoes, and tomatoes are from this side of the kitchen all the way to this side of the kitchen, and from the ceiling to the floor, and it is craziness. I can only imagine how much fun it is with knives and things going, and wow, what a ministry of yours. So thank you for being a ministry. Thank you for being 50 years of supporting church community services. You've touched, I don't know, thousands of lives, obviously. I mean, we're feeding 5,000 people a month, so just think about your impact. So thank you for being a wonderful congregation. Thank you for supporting church community services. And I think we're about to share a short video of our Seed to Feed program before Morgan comes up, okay?
The purpose of Seed to Feed is to provide access to local produce and protein to people struggling in our community. And the main way that we do that is by running a variety of volunteer-led gardens, and those gardens grow the produce. The harvest from those then comes here, and we give it out at our pantry, but it also is distributed out to about 15 other pantries within our county. So we're really working to impact the entire county, not just downtown Elkhart. Seed to Feed started with 2 farmers who recognized the need for local produce in pantries. And since that, it's grown to about 15 gardens. And we also work to get lots of protein here. So we just started an initiative this year called Pigs for the Pantry. And that is a great program where people donate money to the Seed to Feed program, and then that money is used to purchase a pig locally, and that's processed and brought directly to the pantry. So people are getting access to very fresh local protein. So aside from our gardens, we just recently installed a greenhouse that we were able to purchase through a grant. Its purpose is to provide fresh produce throughout the winter months. So this year we've harvested some radishes and spinach, arugula, and other greens that we've been able to grow throughout the winter months, even without heat, which is just amazing that that's been working that well. Each spring we have the opportunity for pantry guests to take seeds. We get a lot of seeds donated to us, and we're able to give those out to our pantry guests, usually in May, and with the hopes of them being able to go out to their gardens, whether it's on the porch of an apartment or in their yard, with hopes that they will grow that themselves.
I'm Roger Griffith. I'm the Creekside Church of the Brethren's garden coordinator. We started our garden 5 years ago as a service project. Weren't sure it was going to take off, but it has been very successful. We have a number of members that have really got behind that program and really have taken over the garden, and I just kind of follow along now. We never tell our people when they have to be there. They just show up. Sometimes they show up when we're not even there, and I get to the church in an evening and there's 10 or 12 bushels of tomatoes picked. And so our work is done. We didn't even know they were coming. Last year we produced 7,700 pounds of produce to give to church community service, That's over 58,000 servings for church community service. We've grown squash, tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, and zucchini this year.
Well, we sang one of my favorite hymns this morning, Rain Down. So I thought, hey, let's dig into it a little bit. I decided to pull out one of the phrases from the chorus. Rain down your love on your people. I find some metaphorical significance in these words. Rain brings with it a break from the sun's intensity, while also offering the nutrients necessary for plants to thrive. Its presence is temporary, but its impact is lasting. Now think about this in the context of Seed to Feed. In our pantry, for a few months out of the year, people are offered fresh produce from our numerous gardens. These tomatoes, zucchinis, and peppers will only last a few days, just as the rain usually is only temporary. And yes, the produce provides important nutrients needed for the body, just as the rain does the same for the plants themselves. However, I want to suggest this produce provides a more important kind of nutrient. It is an offering of love. From the hands that tilled the soil and placed the seed in the ground, to the hands that offered the produce to a pantry guest, that produce is an embodiment of love. That is what makes this program so special. When people are touched by love, they can suddenly see the value they bring. They recognize that they are seen and they are important. The love that you each offer can dignify a person. Rain down your love on your people. You are a congregation living out these words, living out the love that Jesus offered. Through your passion and care, divine love is spreading throughout our community. The passion people have to care for our community is also bountiful beyond these walls. In our 8th year, Seed to Feed has grown to 16 gardens, the most we've ever had. Some of the new gardens include a neighborhood garden in Elkhart and the garden out at the 4-H fair. This year, we will reach 1 million pounds of produce that has been funneled through this program. We hope many of you will be involved in bringing in that millionth pound. In the winter, we grew crops in our greenhouse for the first time, allowing us to provide greens and root crops in the pantry, even in the coldest of months. We started a new initiative last December called Pigs for the Pantry to increase protein options for pantry guests. So far, that's provided over 7,000 pounds of pork sausage to our pantry. Creekside has been a big part of our success. This summer is Creekside's 5th season producing for Seed to Feed. You have been one of our biggest contributors over the years. In your first year, you produced 4,924 pounds of produce. Last year, this grew to 7,723 pounds. That is equivalent to 58,542 USDA servings. Of that, 2,000 pounds were tomatoes you worked diligently to process so we could freeze them and offer them to the pantry in the winter. You have generously offered your space to us to have our end-of-season potluck here with all the gardens. You contributed monetary donations to Pigs for the Pantry so we could buy local pork. We could not do what we do without your support. Looking forward, Seed to Feed will be moving the greenhouse in September onto CCS property. This is in response to continued vandalism in its current location and a recognition for the need to improve its accessibility. By moving it onto our property, we will be able to install raised beds and improve safety. As Rosanna mentioned, I am moving in December to pursue a master's degree in marine biology. So I'm sad to say that means I will be leaving my position here. However, I am confident we will find a quality successor to become the next coordinator. Seed to Feed is continuously growing and changing, but your support is a constant, and for that we are grateful. I would like to close with a story of a former pantry guest. Chanel first started visiting the pantry in 2009, soon after she moved here from Arizona. Life in Elkhart started off as a challenge, as she was unable to find a well-paying job during the recession, while also attending college. Chanel's visits to the food pantry at Church Community Services helped her and her husband through that tough stage. Visiting the pantry gave Chanel hope. Every time I walked in those doors, I knew I was going to be taken care of. It made a huge difference to help my husband and I stretch our dollars to get us on our feet to being independent adults. In her last few months of visiting the pantry, Chanel started noticing more produce available due to the implementation of the Seed to Feed program. She was very thankful for this, as most of her experience at food pantries only involved canned goods. Since obtaining a full-time job, Chanel has sought ways to give back to the community. She found an opportunity for that at River Oaks Community Church, the congregation she has been a part of since moving to Elkhart. This past summer, she began helping at River Oaks Seed to Feed garden. Chanel brings her children along to the weekly gardening days, using the opportunity to teach them about where food comes from, as well as how the food in that garden is helping others. Chanel shared, "I am glad not to have to worry about the needs of my kids and instead be able to turn around and help others." Chanel intends to continue volunteering in the garden next summer while improving the porch garden she started at her own home. Through it all, she points her experience back to God. Quote, "He was there every step of the way. Looking back, I see the love God spread through the food pantry at CCS. And I have now been inspired to do the same. It's just so surreal to think about how God's love touches our life in the midst of the chaos and confusion life throws at us. The people who worked in the pantry obeyed God's command to help the less fortunate, to do something and not expect to receive anything in return. For it is God's awesome love that they share. Besides food, love is the greatest gift Church Community Services has given to me and my family." End quote. Let the divine love fill us as we pull every weed and harvest every fruit. And let that love spread to touch many hopeful hands in our community.